Well, good morning, magandang umaga, and welcome to today's episode of My PI Dream. Today, we are going to do a product comparison between one of our old toys and one of our new toys here on our channel. The old toy being the DJI Phantom 4 Pro Plus, which you've seen in many of our episodes doing the drone views, the bird's eye view of our build here, and other exciting adventures here inside the Philippines. And our new toy, the DJI Air 2S. Why are we going to employ the DJI Air 2S? Because of an event that just recently happened with our DJI Phantom 4 Pro. Confused? I hope not. We'll explain that a little bit more as we get into today's episode. So without further delay, let's get today's episode underway. Before we do a box opening of our new drone here, the DJI Air 2S, I just want to talk a little bit about why we are kind of replacing this or prepared to use some newer technology. And again, that will have to do with comparisons here in just a little bit. But an event happened just recently, as a matter of fact, just a few days ago, and it happens to be an event that happened with this drone, our old workhorse of a drone here that we use on our channel. And if you kind of notice, it looks like it's a little bit not so new condition. That's because it's not new. We've been using this for maybe about 3.5 years here on our channel. But in the recent days, specifically about 3 days ago, we had a catastrophic event with this drone right here. And I wish I would have had the video to show you, but I don't have the video because you never expect this type of an event to happen, hence the word catastrophic. When we were taking this drone up for a flight, and as we turned it on and the propellers started spinning, something happened where this drone right here immediately flipped over like this, and we got some damage. And some of the damage you can see on one of the arms here, one of the arms on the DJI itself. You can see where I did a repair, or maybe you can't, or maybe you can't, I don't know. Maybe my repair is pretty good. Now I think you can obviously see it looks pretty nasty. And this is some epoxy on here and some different types of like super glue to try to maintain this part of the quad itself. Now what actually happened, I'm not totally sure, but I am going to use my deduction skills here to try to figure out what happened. Now these are the 4 propellers that were on this quad right here, the DJI Phantom 4 Pro. And when I picked up all the pieces after the drone fell over, this was the condition of one of the props. Now, these props here are replacements. Since this drone is so old, I needed to replace props on here. And instead of going with DJI OEM propellers, I went ahead and I picked up some propellers that are readily available on our local Lazada online sales. Something very similar to Amazon.com. And these props look very much like the OEM version, except here, I'm not sure if you can see also, if you buy the DJI product, the OEM, you'll see the DJI stamp there, and it's not on this one right here, but they look almost identical. Now, when I spoke with some folks and I told them about this catastrophic event that happened right here, the first thing they said, did you put the blades on incorrectly? You'll see that 2 of the blades have a black circle and 2 of the blades have a silver circle on the top. One turns clockwise and one turns counterclockwise. That's how this quad is able to maintain altitude and speed, and it balances between the 2 sets of the blades. Now also on the quad itself, it has little black dots and no dots. So you can't really put these blades on backwards because these are for the black. If you put it on here, it will go on the black, but it will not lock in place on the one that isn't marked with the black. So you can see that they're keyed properly. So anyway, what I did was I have another set of blades here that came with this kit right here, and I later on tried and I tested the quad, and it flew okay. It flew okay after I changed it out. So I really believe what happened was, as it first started to take off, as it spun up, this blade right here broke in half. It had again what I call a catastrophic event, and then the remaining 3 blades on here tried to compensate. It fell over and it did damage to the arm. Now today is not about this quad. Today we're going to do a box opening of the new DJI Air 2S, and we're going to go ahead and set this up and do a little bit of comparison between these 2 quads. Let's go ahead and do that right now. Now let's go ahead and start off with doing a box opening of the new DJI Air 2S. I purchased this on Lazada, and it came with a complimentary 64 gigabyte SD card. That's a good thing. Now the pricing on here in the Philippines on Lazada was slightly more than had I purchased this in the US on Amazon.com. But had I purchased it in the US on Amazon.com and had it shipped over here, it would have been way more expensive than actually buying this here in the Philippines. So let's go ahead and do an opening here. So let's look at what's inside the box. Here is our actual Air 2S and our controller, some manuals, part of the power supply for charging, some USB cables. These look like the cables that would probably go to your specific phone or tablet, to your controller, and some propellers, and the little knobs that will fit on your controller right here. Let's go ahead and read the instructions before we do anything. Now the first thing it tells me to do in the quick start guide right here is to download the DJI Fly application, and you can download it from the App Store or for Android. So let me go ahead and download that. Now I know there's only certain kind of phones that you can use this for. I have an older, a iPhone 5SE, I believe is what it is. It's like the smaller version that they just upgraded before they went crazy with these 8, 9, 10, 11, I don't even know what version of iPhone they are now. But I hope it will work with my existing iPhone. We'll see in just a minute. Now the next step in the quick start guide is to extend the arms that the props will connect to. So the front ones, they just easily move out in that direction, and the ones on the back, don't pull them out, they actually go underneath like this one. So you pull, very easy to deploy each one of the arms. Now the next thing is actually putting the props on, but we're not going to put the props on yet because both the step after the props, and also on the drone itself it says please charge to activate the battery before using for the first time and refer to the quick start guide. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to do the charging of the battery, and then we'll come back to this later. Now the battery is easily removed by just pushing in on both of these clips right here, and the battery comes out just like that. Now on the charger unit there's a charging connection to the battery. And there's a little indentation right here, so you connect this up like this. Now we'll go ahead and plug it in the wall. There's also a connection for the USB to connect here, and you would connect it also to your battery charger right here on this side, and this will charge up the control unit. Now there are indications of charging both here on the charger as well as on the battery itself. Alright, so I got the battery charged. As a matter of fact, I'm charging a second battery. I purchased an additional battery so I have some more fly time. The expected fly time, I believe, on this drone right here is 31 minutes. And I think on my DJI Phantom 4, I think that fly time is about 30 minutes, right about the same amount of time. So let me tell you what I did while the battery was being charged. I went ahead and downloaded the application. You saw I did that, so we have the DJI Fly. Once the battery was charged, I installed the battery inside the drone. And what I did was I did some of the updates. It was very easy. As soon as I connected between the two, there was a pairing, there was an activation, and then it said I had a couple of firmware updates that needed to be done. Very easy. It went seamless. So not like when I had my Phantom 4 Pro at the very beginning. In the earlier days of the Phantom 4 Pro, there were a lot of hiccups involved. I wasn't even sure if the firmware was being updated right. I was afraid I might have even bricked the drone itself because the firmware just didn't seem like it was updating properly. But they definitely did some improvements in that. So the firmware is updated. I installed the propellers, and I will tell you something that's a little bit different from this drone as compared to the DJI Phantom 4. The props, whether it be the orange ones with the little orange circle here, or the ones that don't have an orange circle, they will fit on any of these, so you need to make sure that you have the correct one on the correct arm. If you can see, this one has a little orange mark. I hope you can see that. And you put the one with the little orange mark on the one with the orange mark. You can't mistake that on the DJI Phantom 4 because it will only fit one way, and it has to do with the keying of the propeller. So I got the propellers installed on these. Something else I found out as I'm new to the DJI Air 2S is the little control mechanisms on here for the controller. They're actually stored down here, and the two that were in the box are spares. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that the video on this one is set up for the same as the video on the DJI Phantom 4, because the whole purpose of today's exercise is to look at the quality, the handling and the quality of the video between the two. We're going to do a comparison. This is not set up, this is not going into each one of the control options that you have inside there, and you can find that on many of the videos that are posted on YouTube today. Today is an out-of-the-box experience. We are basically going to fly this using the default settings, except for possibly changing the video. I'm going to look and see what the video is set from default. On my DJI Phantom 4, we're set for 1080p at 60 frames per second. We're going to fly both of these using the same video settings without any filters. There'll be no ND filters on. And we're going to do a side-by-side comparison between the two. And I will let you know, as far as handling goes, what's the difference? Is there any difference between the two as far as maneuverability and your ability to control the drone itself? So let's go ahead and get started. All right, well, let's start with our trusty old, and I say old, it's fairly old, our trusty old Phantom 4 Pro. Let's go ahead and take this up in the air. We'll do some video around the backyard here in Villa Feliz, and then we'll do the same with the Air 2S, and we'll compare them side by side. So here it is, the moment of truth. I just took both of the drones up, and you got to see some of the video from both these. Now I haven't seen the video yet. I am going to do that in post-editing. I will be putting that inside today's episode. So I don't know what the comparison is between the two. All I know is I use the same settings, 1080p with 60 frames per second. I verified that. Now let me tell you my personal feeling of the comparison between the two of these. And the jury is still out. When I say the jury is still out, is because by using this underpowered phone, this 5SE, it gave me a lot of problems with delay. I had lag. I had what I thought was really loss of control at some times of the drone. Although when you have loss of control and you let go of the controller here, the phone connected to this right here, it just sits there. There was a lot of problems with this. So I still don't have a good feel for how the two of these work with each other. I think I need a newer, either a newer phone or some type of a tablet to work with this device right here. Now I will tell you, the handling of the smaller drone is much different from the handling of the DJI Phantom 4. And when I say the difference in handling, it's the difference between flying. I would say now I haven't flown aircraft before, but I would say being in the cockpit of several aircraft in my career in the past, this feels like you're actually flying a jumbo jet airliner. And this really does kind of feel like you're flying a little jet inside here. So the controls are very different between the feel of the two. I still feel much more comfortable flying the Phantom 4 Pro. Although, again, everything has to do with practice. Once I start getting used to this, maybe this will be a little bit better. But being that the controls, if you look, the controls are just a little bit different here. The control sticks on here are bigger than the control sticks on here, which gives you a little bit smoother of a transition of the control of your aircraft, going up, down, left, and right, doing all your maneuvers. So I feel that this is actually still better. Again, they both have a 1-inch CMOS camera, and we'll look in just a moment after I've uploaded, and there'll be a comparison of the video. And that's the main thing I want to know. Do I have really good video, and is it stable enough to be able to get some really good shots? I think that's about it. I don't really think there's much more that I can do. All I know is when I took this out of the box, I will tell you I have an alibi that when I flew this with all the settings directly out of the box, except for changing the video setting to the 60 frames per second on 1080p, because by default I think it was set for 4K. But the thing I wanted to say that was different when this came right out of the box, it was at the lowest settings of all of your limitations. 120 meters on your maximum altitude that you could go from ground level, and whatever the lowest amount, the shortest distance from where I had this drone take off to where it ended up, and it wasn't very far. It was very close. I was so shocked that I'm like, oh, it's not, I can still see it, and I haven't even lost my visual line of sight. I haven't had the opportunity. But when I went back and I looked at the controls inside here, it allowed me to change all of those inside the parameters. And I did that, and we'll probably do another drone comparison at a later date. Now my final assessment as to the comparison between the two: this is nice, this is small, this is nice, this is very stable. They both have their attributes. About the same amount of time when it comes to flight time. This has some newer sensors. What I do like about this one, and I haven't tested it out yet, is this doesn't use the old light bridge system. The light bridge system is what controls between this controller and this aircraft. Uses light bridge. A newer version of the Phantom 4, the V2, uses OcuSync 2. What this uses is OcuSync 3 on this one right here. So I don't know what the distance is yet, because remember when I used the default settings, everything was set at the shortest distance. So I will be doing some more testing on this later on. So anyway, that is right out of the box, and that's what I was trying to get a point across today. I want to see what the comparison on the video is and what the feel is. And the feel right now, to me, this is much more stable. than this one right here. But again, this is for, I think, more for speed and more for some of the dynamics that you would be able to do with this that you cannot do with this monster over here. Anyway, that's about it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some good information out of it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Please share. And if you have not subscribed, just click on that little My PI Dream heart. In the bottom right hand side of your screen, you'll be subscribed and notified the next time I upload a new video. So until such time from right here in the Philippines, you have a wonderful and blessed day. If you enjoyed today's episode and you would like to see more just like these, just click on one of the helpful links over to your right and you might be able to pick up on some good information on DIY projects, how to, or if you're interested in moving to the Philippines and building, you'll find answers there as well.